Advisor for the power distributor.
Also, there's our latest national tracking poll by Global Info Analytics show a clear majority of Ghanaians believe the country is moving in the right direction, with 66% of voters expressing optimism about the nation's trajectory.
Also this hour, in light of recent fire outbreaks, personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service embark on a route march across major market centers in the Greater Accra region. Welcome to a brand new week of News Central. I'm Kemini Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. This afternoon, workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, have begun a nationwide protest through the hoisting of red flags against government's decision to appoint a transaction advisor for the power distributor. The workers under the Public Utilities Workers Union pool say the move could threaten the future of ECG and warn of further industrial action if government fails to suspend the appointment. The IMF staff report on Ghana from last week stated that by the end of 2025, a transaction advisor is expected to be hired to oversee the selection process for private sector concessionaires for electricity distribution. He added that the energy sector is stabilizing, highlighting that the Electricity Company of Ghana's payments to independent power producers IPPs through the cash waterfall mechanism have increased significantly, reaching $308 million US dollars in the first half of the year, compared with $325 million for the entirety of 2024. Meanwhile, the TUC has since asked government to halt the appointment of the transaction advisors for peaceful industrial climate. Let's get a bit more from the General Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers Union, Timothy Nyame. Mr. Nyame, I appreciate you joining us this afternoon on the bulletin, and compliment of the season as well to you. Government, I'm sure, has engaged you on this process for a private sector participation in the distribution of energy or electricity across the country. What is the challenge you have when that process includes a transaction advisor?
Thank you very much. Warm greetings to your listeners and viewers, and Happy New Year in advance. Yes, as you may be aware, we started this process in the beginning of the year when we stated our position to private sector participation, because the union stated that private sector participation and the privatization are one and the same. So on that backdrop, we started a roadmap with the government, where we agreed with government on the way, the modalities for the turnaround. And you can also just recall that performance in the energy sector has been so tremendous. So we don't see any reason why they should bring a transaction advisor, while everything that we have agreed on is ongoing smoothly. We've recorded high performance in the energy sector. On the appointment of the managing director and the board of directors, you can see the work moving on smoothly. You can recall the performance that was announced by Honorable Minister of Finance at the floor of Parliament. Majority Leader also collaborated in the recommendation. Even the IMF also applauded ECG for the performance. So for us to hear that we are going to appoint a transaction advisor to advise on ECG privatization is something that is of worry. So today you can see the workers of ECG across the nation appointed red flags.
Mr. Nyame, help me understand something here. So you speak to the progress ECG has made in this year in terms of the government of the day appointing a board, appointing a new managing director, and overseeing the strict compliance to the cash waterfall mechanism and the generation of revenue to the levels that we've seen. That same government is of the opinion that, yes, we've made considerable progress with respect to ECG, but we believe the next step is private sector participation, which has been known even before they came into office. How are you now having a challenge with the same government which has helped ECG get onto this trajectory of progress, saying that the next step is private sector participation?
That is the position that the TUC and PU have stood against. It was on that backdrop that we were invited by government for a way forward, of which the turnaround strategy was tabled to government, and it was accepted, and we are operating on it. If we were to accept the private sector participation, we would have gone to the tangent that we are going. So,
hello, Mr. Nyame.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, if we were to agree to the private sector participation, we would have gone to the arrangement that we made with government, of which is paying off. You know, we lay down a lot of things before government, which gave us the go-ahead to operate. And as I speak to you, we are still working. And periodically, we are in touch with the management of ECG to fashion, to see where we can modify and improve. And it is something that all of you can see clearly the performance. So if an institution is performing, the main reason why you say you were bringing private sector participation, don't forget that they said ECG was making losses, was not collecting revenue.
And we'll actually look at the losses and the trajectory we've been on since 2020, because off the top of my head, we've made in excess of 15 billion in terms of losses. And you say that private sector participation is not the way to go. What would you say is the way to go then, if the argument from TUC and the rest is private sector participation is not the way to go?
The way to go is to leave the company in the hands of government and appoint managing director as they have done, appoint the competent board of directors, and allow them, give them free hand to operate. You can see that it is paying off. By the arrangement that we are doing with government, it's paying off. I want to say that the result we have seen here is as a result of the agreement we have with government on the way forward. So for you to be in the middle of the operations and come and bring a transaction advice, like it's a cost of water for us.
So you want the status quo to remain and for things to continue in the way that it is. But what would you have to tell Ghanaians who say that, look, this is the ECG that we've seen have 99 accounts collecting revenue and losses experienced here and there. We saw what happened in the short space when PDS was present and the revenue they were able to collect. That is the sort of efficiency which is needed to clean up the country's energy space. Something you, as PU and ECG workers, you've not been able to do for a very long time. How do you respond to Ghanaians when they make that argument?
It is actually laughable for you to compare ECG to PDS. You know, if PDS were collecting revenue without paying a single IPP, when PDS were collecting revenue, they were not paying IPP. Government was paying the IPP. This time around, with the appointment of the managing director and the board of directors, and with the agreed roadmap, we raised revenue to pay IPPs and also stabilize power. So it's a different arrangement. If we are not ready to compare PDS with ECG with the current operations at all.
So that comparison is in terms of revenue generation. The aftermath and all of that is one of the many things that we can talk about. And
the revenue generated,
for a lot of people.
So if you collect revenue and you are not paying the IPPs, where are you sending the revenue to?
Right.
So
I mean, that has become a subject of which we understand from the Energy Ministry that the Attorney General is going to pick up. I was just bringing that comparison in terms of revenue because there's been the challenge of ECG not raising enough revenue. And so I just use that as an example on that front. I hope you understand.
Yes.
Yes.
So my brother, are you not surprised and happy that Revenue generation has gone. Generation has gone a record of 90% within this short period. Have you not experienced that the system losses have decreased from the current 27 to 24? Have you not experienced power stability over the period that any downtime is announced ahead of time? Is that not what they were complaining of? Is that not what we are doing?
So Mr. Nyame, and a lot of Ghanaians will be happy even as we're having this conversation, because power is one thing that they want to have and have constantly without any excuses. And you're right when you say that you've stayed consistent this year. The question a lot of people will ask is, what happened in the previous years when you couldn't stay consistent? But even away from that, saying that you don't want the privatization, are you going back onto the table to have a conversation with government? Because, and I say because here in the sense that since this energy minister took office, there's been a consistent plan. In fact, there was a committee which was set up to advise the government on the way forward. That work has traveled up until this point. Are you going back to have a conversation and telling the government to throw away all of the investment and the efforts they've put into these months of work, which has brought us here?
Pool of PUC is always open to dialogue. I want to say that it is because of the dialogue that has this roadmap and this achievement. Just in the blue, you are going to pick a transitional advisor. Then are you saying that what we are doing and the government is trumpeting with all our donor agencies also trumpeting, is it not something good? What do we need to do? It is a hard time for us to know that Ghanaians are capable of managing their own affairs and not to privatize. Yeah, if RECO can set us right, let us ask, what have been the success stories of all institutions that have been privatized? We have seen in Ghana here a lot of institutions have gone to private. So we are saying that enough is enough. Let government put in place a strong team to show the way, fire those who are not performing, reward those who are performing, and let the national affairs remain for the state. Right. That's all we are calling for.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'm sure it's a conversation that it's not the last we're having or what we're having today, and we'll continue to keep that conversation going. And we'll look forward to the conversations you have with government, because I'm sure there will be some conversation with government. But when I was speaking to Mr. Nyame, thank you very much, Mr. Nyame, for speaking to us as well. When I was speaking to him, the conversations about the losses as incurred by ECG came up. I just want to show you over the last 4 years what it's looked like. In terms of their financial years. And this is in Ghana cedis, by the way. In 2021, 1.45 billion cedis in terms of losses. 2022, 7.99 billion in terms of losses. 2023, 10.2 billion. 2024, 8.25 billion cedis. This year, the financial year is yet to end, because today is what, the 29th of December. We still have some days left for the year to end. And so in the first quarter of next year, possibly, we could get a proper sense as to what the financials of ECG looks like. But if there's anything from what we're seeing in excess of 27 billion, right? But if there's anything, there's been considerable increases in terms of revenue generation, IPPs being paid. And so you can hazard a guess and say that this could be lower from what we've showed you, but we'll wait to see what the financials look like. But let's stay on matters relating to the energy sector, this time toll, because following the resumption of Tema oil refinery, crude refinery operations, the CEO of the National Petroleum Authority, Gordon Edugitamaklo, has been speaking about the impacts and new development will have on the country's economy. Now, according to him, if production continues as has started, he will project the country well on the international market and on Forex. The pressure on the city as well, he argues, will reduce. He spoke on TV3 New Day this morning.
Based on what we've been doing with toll, you have Central doing extremely well now, almost giving us 20% of the market over the past period. I strongly believe that if Tema oil refinery is able to ramp up production to almost 45,000, barrels per stream per day, Tor and Central alone should be doing about 40% of the market. Wow. And that will be significant. That will greatly, project the country well. And one of the benefits, I strongly believe, is that once they get into that, it will also impact on pricing dynamics greatly. Because then you'll be doing less exports. Now, the bigger advantage also is that if you are doing it here, the kind of forex you need to bring imported product, that pressure on the Ghana cedi will greatly also reduce. So the economics of it is greatly impactful. As you know, immediately we set up the gas infrastructure in the Tuabo because we're getting LPG. And at a point, it rose to almost 45% of market demand. It also reduced the downward pressure on the Ghana cedi. So at every material time, once we're able to do a few of these things locally, it projects the economy better.
Now, 2025 has witnessed a number of fire outbreaks, particularly in the capital city, Accra, claiming lives and destroying millions worth of property. As part of efforts to prevent fires and reduce their occurrence during the Harmattan season, the Greater Accra Regional Fire Command has embarked on a march across major market centers in the region. And pretty shortly, we will show you pictures from that effort conducted earlier today. We also know that over the period, we've seen more than 5,000 fires in the country. We'll get into the why nots, and what the future holds for the Ghana National Fire Service. Joining me now in the studio is the Greater Accra Regional Fire Commander, ACFO Rashid Kwame Nisewu, to educate the public on a bit more on fire prevention. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you, madam.
Is your march over already to the market centers?
Yes, we've gone through the principal streets of Accra, Madina, Legon, Adenta, Weja, Amasama, Nungwa, the central business city, and we've ended up at
all this morning.
This morning.
I see.
Yes.
What is it meant to achieve?
No, you see, with that bit paint Accra red. And the message is very simple. The devastation, the harm, suffering caused to people as a result of fire outbreaks is immeasurable. And looking at, we've taken advantage of the season. Everybody's at home to drum home the message that fire safety is a shared responsibility. And the devastation that is being caused is just too much, and that they should listen to us.
What was the general response from the market or from the traders?
Now, if your men were there, it was marvelous. I brought Alpha Flames Band from the Greater Accra region to be based at Accra City, the central business city. So as the band was blasting the music, we took advantage to send the message across.
I see.
So it was
How
marvelous.
well received was that message?
It was marvelous. They were so happy to receive us.
I see.
Yes, it was good. It was good. I wish you see the pictures. And
we are. The pictures are on the TV at the moment.
Yes.
But the marketplaces are hotspots for fires.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so going into 2026, what are some of the measures or efforts you expect the traders to put in to prevent fires?
I think this is a brilliant one. You see, number one, markets are not homes. Markets, I repeat myself, are not homes. We should dedicate markets as places for buying and selling, and not for sleeping. See, some people have converted markets to mixed use. After selling, they will sleep there. If you are sleeping there and mosquitoes are disturbing you, definitely you will lit a coil to prevent the mosquitoes. And when you are sleeping, you are not conscious of the environment. Your leg can even kick the mosquito coil away, and then that will turn to fire. If you are sleeping and then there's darkness, you want to see around, you will lit a candle. If you are turn the market to a home and you are hungry, excuse me to say, some this way or some, you would like to cook some rice and so on. And so you have small cylinders around you and a whole lot of things that you'll be doing and like you are in your home. And these are the things that normally bring about these fires.
So people should stop living and using markets at home.
Is that we should dedicate, as we enter into the year 2026, let's dedicate the markets as places for solely for what? Buying and what? Selling. Markets should have opening times and should have closing times. You open the market at 6 and close at what? 6. After close of work, nobody is allowed to come to the market to transact any business any longer, because this is what some of the bad people around take advantage of. Because if the market is still going through, you see that some will be sneaking in and coming, and then these are the problems.
How many market centers did you visit today?
So we've visited the Central Business City, Bokola.
Okay.
In fact, the programs are in phases. Today, Medina Market has been visited, Wager, Domi, and then the Central Business City.
I see.
Now, on the 31st, I have another one that we are rolling out, and that is face-to-face with the market authorities. So we'll expect the MP of the area to come out, the assembly member of the area, the market authorities to come out, those
and engage
with us, and then we will tell them what to do.
These market centers that you visited today are some of the most congested places.
Yes.
We visit on a daily basis.
Yes.
I'm sure wading through the market area, you could tell yourself.
Yes.
In that meeting with these authorities, the MP, the District Assembly Executive, or the MCE, the market authorities, how would you tackle the issue of congestion in 2026?
Congestion, we can't do that alone. Like you mentioned, the markets are not under the control or the authority of the Ghana National Fire Service. That is solely under the authority of the assemblies. And that is the more reason why we'll be expecting the MCE to be on the panel, who will also be there, the Queen Mothers and so on, so that spaces can be created, so that in time of emergency, our vehicles are the big ones, to allow for maneuverability, space for staging, hydrants, to give way for places that we will draw water for firefighting and so on and so forth.
Very well.
So that is what we've planned for you. And in fact, the last one is Kantamanto, which will be on the 2nd
of January.
And the 2nd, because exactly 1 year on the 2nd is when Kantamanto was gutted by fire.
I see.
So myself and the authorities of Kantamanto have scheduled on the 2nd of January, and I'll be expecting your people there to come and cover the program for us.
ACFO, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much, Madam. Grateful.
ACFO Rashid Nisau is with the Ghana National Fire Service. Now, away from that, the Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Gold Board, Sami Jemfi, has firmly rejected suggestions that the Gold Board has recorded losses under its operations. It was reacting to intensified pressure following the International Monetary Fund, IMF's 5th review report on Ghana's Extended Credit Facility Program, which disclosed that operational costs from Gold Board and trading shortfalls drove losses under the Bank of Ghana Gold for Reserves program to some $214 million within the first 9 months of 2025.
The impression is being created by some, not your panelists per se, but by some, as though the Gold Board has made losses and is shying away from acknowledging that it has made losses. Alfred, the Gold Board is not a typical commercial venture established for the main purpose of making profits. The Gold Board is a strategic corporation with 2 objects: foreign exchange generation for the country and supporting gold reserve accumulation by the Bank of Ghana. And that is why, if you look at the Gold Board Act, nowhere in the Act is the word profit used, rather the word surplus is used. We are mandate-driven and not necessarily profit-driven. And so if we even make losses, us in the discharge of our mandate, we will be very happy to concede that and to show how that loss came about and the benefits of that loss, if any. And so nobody is shying away from losses. Facts are sacrosanct. The Gold Board is barely 8 months old. Per Section 76 of the Gold Board Act, it took over the assets, liabilities, contracts of the defunct Precious Minerals Marketing Company. So for the first year that the Gold Board has been in operation, our financials are available. We have not made losses. We have rather made surpluses. And we have published our financials as required by law, our quarterly financials on our website.
This afternoon, the minority has demanded urgent bipartisan inquiry into the circumstances under which the country has lost some $240 million under the Gold for Reserve program. According to the caucus, there has been an undue monopoly created through Bower Rock Limited, which has become the only entity purchasing gold. Ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee, Kojo Ponkroma, says the Central Bank and Chief Executive Officer of Gold Board must appear before an ad hoc committee to probe the losses.
Questions that need to be answered on that particular front publicly, and until those questions are answered, the integrity of this scheme, we are beginning to draw your attention to the fact that it's being compromised. Our second preliminary issue we want to draw your attention to. The IMF has already mentioned that $214 million worth of trading losses have been occasioned in the first 9 months of this year. As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. $214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months. But there are a few other issues under that we want to draw your attention to as part of our preliminary remarks. First is to explain to you how these losses are being occasioned. Small-scale miners will not sell unless they are paid true global market prices, even if a slight discount is given to them, and at an exchange rate which the forex bureaus use. Second, the Gold Board therefore has to pay miners at real market value. However, Gold Board then sells the dollars it receives from offshore buyers back to the Bank of Ghana at the BOG or interbank rate, which is a weaker rate. Gold Board protects its books by passing the exchange rate losses directly onto the Bank of Ghana. So this is not a market fluctuation problem. This is a system that is designed to make losses and for the state to bleed, so intermediaries will remain secure and profitable. For those of you who recall, when the Gold Board Act was being passed, we extensively outlined why the regulator should be decoupled from a commercial entity that could do this and make profit. And you recall that we suggested that it would be better to have a limited liability company with capital so that this doesn't happen. This is a
Let's get a bit more on this for you and speak to economist and dean of Faculty of Finance and Accounting at the UPSA, Professor Isaac Boadu, who's questioning the source of trading funds for the Gold Board. Prof, I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Do you suspect there's some lack of clarity and transparency in the operations of the Gold Board based on what we've heard from the CEO, Sami Gyamfi, and what the minority's position is? Because the Gold Board CEO has made it clear they are not a profit-making entity. They are just seeking to trade gold and to the best of their abilities. That's helped keep the city afloat.
Yes. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, if you can repeat the last question.
So I was asking whether or not you believe there's a lack of clarity in terms of the operations of the Gold Board. And all of this really stems from this $214 million losses as captured in that IMF report. There are those who make the argument that there's a lack of transparency in terms of where the Gold Board is getting its funds from in terms of its operations. Do you stand with those individuals who make that claim?
Yeah. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers again. Let me put on the record, the CEO of Gold Board, 3 News or so, have said both make profit. So we can now just oppose conversations in that. One, let's look at the 3 characters involved here. One is Gold Board, one is Bank of Ghana, and one is the IMF. The model of Gold Board is to buy gold, assay them, and then sell, export. That's the mandate. And BOG, their function, among other things, is to stabilize our currency and ensure that we have a proper reserve inflation target. Now, we have a third party, that is the IMF, who we have a contract with. And for the contract of time they want to advance additional money, they have to go through our books and performance and criteria plus the indicative terms, that target. After the report, at level with the management of this administration, and they made clear on that meeting that apart from meeting those targets, they flagged one issue. I mean, there are several, but one issue that is more important to us, for our consumption, in the Gold Board relationship with Ghana. They said the issue they flagged is not about profit-making entity of Gold Board. It's rather an operational, pricing, and governance weakness. These were 3 areas they focused on. And they all border around the fiscal transparency. You know, when they set up the Gold Board, the idea, the government supposed to give it a revolving fund of 270-something million or so. That money, the budget allocation of 4.5 never advanced. 20%. So the question everyone should be asking, where are they going to get money to buy their gold? But if we have been told that they are made profit, we also need to interrogate, where did they get the money to go into trading to be able to make profit? These are questions that ordinary Ghanaians should be asking. Until this was flagged, we didn't know the transaction. We have written to with RTF we never got the feedback about the operations of Gold Board and how this happened. Today, we have been told by IMF that the same entity have been buying gold at a premium, selling to gold a Bank of Ghana at a discount. I mean, the Bank of Ghana also sell at a discount. So it's about pricing issue here. It's not about profit-related money.
Right.
The interesting portion is that if Gold Board is doubting and BOG want to, discredit the report of IMF, they were on the same committee when the report was being discussed. Why did they challenge that report? Why did they wait for the report to get into public space for us to discuss? And now they are telling us it's not the case. They should have told IMF.
Right.
In any way, we have not seen the end of the year report of BOG and that of Gold Board.
Prof, it does appear I'm losing you. I'm losing you as you
ask. Would direct BOG to transfer the cost, the losses to Gold Board.
Right. Because what we know is these are associated trading risk. And since the debate has been on, there's been the conversation about what can be done better going forward. Because the argument from a number of the analysts and the individuals we've been receiving feedback from and been reading from suggests that, well, if you want to look at it on the grand scale of things, there's been a net positive in terms of the performance of the cedi, amongst many other things. But the trading risk is what we've seen play out in this $240 million US. In terms of a way forward to see us avoid losses of such a nature going forward, what would you propose? Because this has been as a result of trading of gold.
You see, as a country, an emerging or developing economy, we need to have control over our gold transaction, especially when we are looking at accumulation of foreign reserves as a buffer. You know, it just helps as a shock observer, but it helps in future. But the point we are raising is that going forward, we are not against a setup of an entity called Gold Board. No. The mandate of Gold Board is to purchase, assay, and export. They are not only doing this, they are also to add value. So that mandate of establishing a refinery should also be a key thing for them to consider. When are they going to set up a refinery to refine our gold to add value? If it's about purchase, buying and selling, that's a very easy thing that everyone can do. But your ability to add value is what we are now discussing. So going forward, if the government promises giving funds to entities, the government must honor their promise. That's why we are having all this conversation. If the revolving fund had been given to them, if the budget allocation approved had also been given to them, you should ask the government, why did they fail to advance those money to those entities?
Right.
And now we are talking about relationship between them and the Bank of Ghana.
Right. Prof, I'm sure we'll take this up again some other time, but I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. That's Professor Boedi speaking to us this afternoon on the conversation surrounding the Gold Board and this $214 million losses. I will get a proper picture of it subsequently for you if you stay with us here.
In the meantime, the proposal by the Constitution Review Committee to extend retirement age of lecturers has been met with mixed reactions among education stakeholders. The committee is proposing changes to university lecturers' retirement age, questioning why experienced academics retire at 60. Chairman of the committee, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, argues many lecturers remain mentally strong at 70 or 80, making compulsory retirement unjustified nationwide. He spoke to me on hot issues.
Everywhere you go in the world, academics retire very late. Already at 60, but for public service generally, our judges are retiring at 65 and 70. So it's there. So why must university lecturers, some of them still very mentally sharp, at 60, some of them are actually not even hit their prime yet.
Would that then make it a parliamentary decision to be made through laws or in conjunction with the executive?
Yes, because then you to pass the law, yes, the president has to sign. So whenever you pass the law, it includes the executive. So this is what we are proposing, that don't keep 60 years in the Constitution, take it out. And then as and when you need to, play with it, it's easier to do in Parliament. We can have a much bigger deliberation around it. Everybody is talking. And then allow some institutions like universities a bit of a range so they can go up.
Let's have a conversation on the back of that. We'll bring in now Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Patti Anti. Doc, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time this afternoon. But from a policy standpoint, what do you make of this proposal to extend generally the retirement age or indeed remove it from the Constitution and be set on a case-by-case basis, but particularly for those in the education sector, there should be a bigger range? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's an interesting proposition, especially because within the education sector, the longer you stay within the system, since your work is basically on research and then in development of the human capital of the country, you are able to advance knowledge and you need a lot more time to be able to impact on the area that you are supposed to be advancing knowledge, and that demands time. So the more you stay on, the more you are getting the experience, the more you are getting more knowledge, the more you are researching into that field, the more you become very resourceful in that area of knowledge that you are working towards. And that is why I think that it's important that you have some leeway for people within the education sector, especially lecturers, as the proposal is saying, for them to work for a longer period of time, because the more they stay on, the more they become experienced and the more their contributions are richer to the development of human capital for the country.
I mean, when you hear Professor Prempeh, he says 70, 80 maybe. In your opinion, I mean, if we're to run with this, what would be an appropriate retirement age?
So for me, I think that currently the practice is that after 60, you are supposed to apply to be given a contract. And that is even dependent on the level, I mean, the rank that you have reached, and then the availability of space and all other things. What this proposal suggests is that you can all stay on if you are willing and able to an age that you think that you can now retire comfortably, and you think that maybe health-wise you cannot continue. That is something that I would ascribe to, because giving the individual the opportunity to work within the space. Especially I look at the science researchers, those doing research in the sciences in the labs. It takes a long period of time to be able to be a master in that area. Imagine me teaching economics for the next 20, 30 years. I will be more experienced than somebody who is now coming into the system. So I think that making it flexible and not bringing in conditions that will restrict the number of people that are able to continue to teach so far as they are willing and able is very important. And so far as they have the strength, they should be given the opportunity to continue to the 70 as has been proposed. But do not cast them off 60 and ask them to apply for contracts and then go through all the challenges and everything when they are willing and able and they can contribute more.
Very well, Doc. I'm afraid we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Peter Patti-Anti is with the IES. He's Executive Director. You're watching News Central. We'll return with more news. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, a clear majority of Ghanaians believes the country is moving in the right direction under President John Dramani Mahama, according to the latest national tracking poll by Global Info Analytics. The poll shows that 66% of voters are optimistic about the nation's trajectory, while 67% approve the president's job performance. Further insights from the survey reveal that 66% of respondents are satisfied with the 2026 budget, and 56% reports an improvement in their standard of living over the past year. Now, regarding governance, about 56%, another 56% of voters believes corruption has improved, and 4% more feel the government is doing enough to combat corruption. But there's more behind the numbers. And Mawena will take us through the data. Mawena, what are we learning?
So quite interesting in terms of what it is that we've seen in this latest poll. And it's exactly a year on since that December election, which saw this government as well come into office. From the highs they were at, many would have expected within 1 year goodwill and all of that would have dwindled, and then perhaps the sentiment of Ghanaians will begin to change. But this latest poll appears to tell us something very different. Let's start off with the baseline in terms of who these respondents were, their level of education and what have you. And so we see that a huge number of them have received some bit of education, with a higher number of them at least doing both SHS and then tertiary education. And it will be important in other aspects of this poll because it looks at party support and other things which we're not paying attention to. But if you can, take a closer look at the poll which has just been put together by Global Info Analytics and why perhaps both political parties should be taking interest in that. And also we see the margin of error. The confidence level as well is very important because they have a lot of confidence in the work that they've done, and then the margin of error as well is rightly captured. But let's get into the meat of the matter, which is the president's job approval. What's the percentage of Ghanaians based on the poll? And it's always important to mention that the poll is seeking to paint a picture of what the national sentiment is. And so, yes, the sample size is 13,000 plus, but this is seeking to be reflective of the entire feelings of the nation. And this is what it is like. 67% of the country, per this poll, has agreed that the president is doing a good job. And so they approve of the job that the president is doing. 24% say, well, they do not think he's done a great enough job. And then 9% say they do not have an opinion. And this is quite resounding in terms of the numbers who say that he's doing a good enough job because he won the election by some 56%. And so if the poll says 67%, then the president can say that he's done. If we come to whether or not the country is headed in the right or wrong direction as well, we tend to see a majority of Ghanaians being of the opinion that, yes, we believe it's in the right direction. And we see that 1 percentage point drop from the president's approval rating coming to the persons who do not have an opinion. And you take us to Mr. Dankwa pretty shortly, and then you get a bit more from him in terms of what he's put together and what this means for all of us. But in terms of the standard of living as well, it's very important because the cost of living was one of the many things which we saw play out as directly reflecting in the voter choice in 2024. 56%, which is still in the majority, say that, look, it has improved. 27% say it has remained unchanged. 12% say it has worsened. And then there's 5% who do not have an opinion. I'll just do a bit more in terms of some of the proposals from the recommendations from the Constitutional Review Committee and the work that they've done, because he sought to ask that as well. On the election of MMDCs, there's a majority who say they want that to happen. There's a majority who actually as well want MPs to be barred from holding ministerial positions. And guess what? 57% of Ghanaians say increase the term limits to 5 years. And so that's also making for an interesting watch, because in the last week since that came up, there's been those who've made the argument that people who do not support it have been very vociferous and they've dominated the conversations. But it appears there's a silent majority who say increase that to 5 years, and we'll wait to see what that does in terms of the white paper and the committee work which will come up subsequently. Then there's the death penalty, which there's a majority as well who say they want to see abolished. You take us to Mr.
Absolutely.
Dankwa.
Let's have a quick chat with Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Musa, for me, how does this performance poll compare with the previous ones?
Well, if you compare this to October, barely nothing has changed. So the number over the last 90 days has not moved, barely the same levels in terms of where we are heading as a country and also Muhammad's performance. Now, if you compare this to the figure before the last election, then you can see a dramatic shift in the sentiment of people.
How dramatic? What does that mean?
In fact, in the last poll, around 66% were saying Ghana was headed in the wrong direction. And then the approval of the then president was around 34%.
I see. So there's goodwill still for the incumbent.
Very much so. If you look at all the data that we put out today, it is clear that the honeymoon is not yet over. We don't know how long it's going to last, but for now, it's pretty high.
Yes. Musa, I'm asking, what could be contributing to this goodwill? What could be the drivers for the 66% we're seeing approving the performance of President John Dramani Mahama?
Look, everything boils down to economy. Economy, economy, economy. When people are very pressed on the economy, everything for them is gloomy. If you look at the way people are feeling about the standard of living, huge number is saying that it has improved compared to last year. And they are also optimistic about the future. Putting that together alongside the feeling that corruption levels are coming down, this will be the reasons why we are seeing these high numbers for approval for the president and also about the country's direction.
We'll leave it here for now. This conversation will continue in later broadcasts. That'll be all for By the Numbers, except tomorrow now you have a little bit more to show us.
Yes, in terms of the fight against corruption as well, we see that there's quite the individual who believes that that is headed in the right direction as well. And then the fight against galamsey is very, very important as well. And interestingly, some say that, look, they disagree that it is worsened since the last time we were here and we're having the conversation at about this time of the year. So the question was, has galamsey worsened since January 2025? Yes was 37%, no was 47%. Nobody really was able to cross a 50 plus threshold, and then 16% said they do not know. So the verdict is still quite out there that there is a bit in terms of people who are satisfied, but we know that there's a lot more that needs to be done. Just that if you bore down into the detail in the mining areas proper as well, this is what it looks like. There is that consensus which suggests that things are not so bad as they were, even though they could be a lot better as well, and those are the data points upon which we're looking at.
That's it for By the Numbers then. We'll now turn attention to other issues. Away from that, Transport Minister and Member of Parliament for Saboba constituency in the Northern Region, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, has urged Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, as well as Members of Parliament within the Northern Belt of the Eastern Corridor, to invest in agriculture to ensure food security. According to him, investing in agric will translate government agricultural policies into sustainable benefits for peasant farmers, which will then reduce poverty and improve livelihoods. The minister made these remarks when he met with all municipal and district chief executives and other stakeholders in Yendi.
We are here again to prove to the leadership of this party and government that whatever role they've handed over to us, we are going to discharge our duties to the fullest, and again, we will bring back glory and smiles on our leadership. So, fellow Akatamansonians, 1 year evaluation is today. In 2026, we will do same. And we'll have to be frank to one another. What is it that we are all doing right or we are all doing wrong? I want to urge that since we have this role as the governing party, we should humble ourselves and let the people feel part of us and be able to come to us. Let us be the peace ambassadors I earlier on mentioned. Let us be the role model that other people will see the goodness in us and we want to belong to our political party. It is not the time for me or you to show that we are in government and will deal with you. It is the time for us to say that we are in government and will bring about improvement, will bring development, and will create jobs. The president is very determined to create more opportunities for our Ghanaian people. The president is more determined to do his best to lift us from where we are to a level that no Ghanaian will go down from that side. We will always continue to climb because the platform is going to be created that there will be improvement in every sector of our economy. So once again, Regional Minister, honorable members of Parliament and MMBCs, our revered party executives, we are here to evaluate our 1 year's work. We are here to plan for 2026, and we are.
Now, security has been beefed up in Boko ahead of the celebration of the annual Samanpiid festival. Thousands of residents have gathered at the Daduri Park for the traditional festival, which the president is expected to attend. Castro Senyala is my colleague on the ground. Let's touch base quickly with him. Castro, what is the current security situation and how is the festive celebration looking like?
Mawena, I can hardly hear you, but if I got you right, you're asking to know what the security situation is right now in Boko. I can report that everything is going well right here at the grounds where there have been, heavy deployment of security personnel on ground. We have the military on one side, we have the police, and I also see personnel of the immigration service all doing patrols at the grounds and within the town to ensure that everything is smoothly. The festival is celebrated in peace and serenity. There hasn't been any issues. People are arriving, as you can see behind me, and we also have people going about their activities. Those who are yet to arrive in town are all about their business, and everything is currently smooth, quiet, and fluid as far as security and peace is concerned.
Castro, we'll leave it here. I'm sure we'll come to you again in the course of the day for a bit more. That's my colleague Castro Senyala with updates from the Samanpiid Festival in Boko, where the president is expected to be. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon, which came to you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. I am Mawena Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. We're back here same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.